A century-old mystery surrounding the now-closed Dozier School for Boys in Marianna, Florida, recently led anthropology researchers from the University of South Florida to a gravesite in Philadelphia. They were looking for the remains of Thomas Curry, a 17-year-old boy who died at the school in 1925. USF anthropologists have uncovered significant clues in their ongoing research at the school that brought them to an excavation at Old Cathedral Cemetery.
His grave was just over 6 feet deep, and so we used heavy equipment for a lot of it. And then when we got close to where the casket was, and we could see that this was about where the wood was and the change in the soil, we did the rest by hand with some shovels and trowels.
Historic documents show Curry died at the school after attempting to escape. His remains were shipped home to his grandmother, a funeral was held at St. Bridget's Church, and Curry was buried in the family plot with his great-grandparents. What the researchers discovered was unexpected.
All of the records from the cemetery and the local church point to this location as his burial location. It's on top of his great-grandmother. The casket and the hardware is all consistent with what we've seen in Marianna at the Reform School. And so we do feel that the casket was from Florida and shipped here, likely by train. We know it took several weeks. And he was supposed to be buried here, and there is definitely a casket here, but it's filled with different layers of wood, and unfortunately, there's no evidence of him.
The team from USF gained permission from Curry's family and worked closely with Pennsylvania authorities to secure a court order to exhume their remains and perform a skeletal analysis.
The more we found out about the case, the more we were willing to help, and the more that we ourselves dug into it and found the discrepancies in the death certificates and the burial certificates. It screamed that this needed to be done.
It comes down to justice. I think that's what we all work for, from a homicide that occurs today to one that's a cold case, to something that happened this long ago. Even though theoretically for this particular case, having happened back in the 1920s, there wouldn't be a chance of prosecution. There's still there's still justice.
There's this mystery around what happened to him. Officially, according to his death certificate, he died of blunt trauma, a crushed skull, wound to the forehead, cause unknown. That's very specific. In the records that the cemetery has from officials at the school, they said he was hit by a train. And so these sort of conflicting accounts, and one of the things we'd hope to answer by looking at skeletal fracture patterns and the injuries was what happened to him, and what was the mechanism of injury and ultimately the cause of death. And so to find that there's a casket here full of wood and not him opens up many more questions, unfortunately, rather than answering them.
Curry's family has given a DNA sample, and the team will compare that with remains recovered from the cemetery in Marianna.
I don't think the fact that we didn't find anything in there, I think that only supports the things that happened in Florida, from a cover-up to the other atrocities that took place there. Because every indication is that there was a casket buried there, but it was an empty casket.
Initially, very shocked, but then upon contemplating it, really not shocked at all that this was par for the course for this, how this operation was conducted.
The team reburied the wood planks in place of where Curry should have been. For USF News, I'm Katie Hennig.